My 7-year-old daughter stood in line for gift bags at my parents' anniversary party, and when she stepped forward, my mother shoved her aside and said, "Wait your turn," before handing bags to the neighbor's kids instead. When my daughter tried again, my sister threw an empty bag at her feet and sneered, "Here, pick up the trash." I felt something inside me go very still. Not angry, not yet, just still. Emma had been standing in line with the other kids for 10 minutes, patient, excited, her little hands clasped in front of her yellow sundress, the one we'd picked out together at Target because it made her feel fancy. She'd been counting down to this party for weeks, Grandma and Grandpa's 40th anniversary, the fancy hall downtown, the promise of cake and gift bags, and feeling like she belonged. When she stepped forward, my mother's hand came down on her shoulder, not gentle, a push. Then she handed bags to the Nelson twins, the neighbor's kids my parents had known for maybe 6 months. Emma's face, God, her face, confused at first, like she'd misunderstood. She glanced back at me across the room, and I started moving toward her, but she was already trying again, because that's what 7-year-olds do. They trust that adults will be fair the second time. My sister Jennifer intercepted her, picked up an empty gift bag from the floor, one that had fallen, tissue paper scattered, and threw it at Emma's feet. 50 people in that room. 50. And in the sudden quiet, I heard my daughter's breathing change. That little hitch before the tears come. I saw her bottom lip start to tremble, saw her trying so hard not to cry in front of everyone. I was there in 4 steps, picked her up. She buried her face in my neck, and I felt the hot dampness of her tears against my skin. I didn't say a word to anyone. Not my mother. Not Jennifer. Not my father watching from his throne at the head table like some kind of king. I just walked out. Emma cried for 20 minutes in the car. The ugly kind of crying where kids can't catch their breath and their whole body shakes. "Why doesn't Grandma love me?" she asked from her booster seat in the back, voice raw. "What did I do wrong?" I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. "You didn't do anything wrong, baby." But she was so mean. And Aunt Jennifer called me trash. I know. Am I trash, Mommy? I had to pull over. Right there on Highway 12, hazards on, cars whipping past at 70 miles per hour. I climbed into the back seat and held her until the crying turned to hiccups, then to silence. I didn't have an answer that wouldn't break her heart more than it was already broken. It had always been this way. My family didn't hide their disappointment in me. They displayed it, showcased it at every opportunity like some kind of trophy for what not to become. Jennifer was the golden child, summa cum laude from Northwestern, medical school at Johns Hopkins, married to Marcus, a corporate attorney who looked like he'd stepped out of a Brooks Brothers catalog, 2 kids in private school, one already reading at a 5th grade level in 2nd grade. They lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in the nicest suburb, the kind of neighborhood where people power wash their driveways. I was the cautionary tale. Bachelor's degree from the state school, took me 6 years because I worked full-time to pay for it. Married at 23 to a guy who seemed stable until he wasn't. Divorced at 25 when Emma was 2, after he informed me via text message that fatherhood wasn't for him, and moved to Portland with a woman he'd met on a business trip. I taught 4th grade, made $47,000 a year, lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with a water stain on the ceiling in the bathroom that maintenance had been meaning to fix for 8 months. My parents made sure I knew the score at every family gathering. At Christmas, Jennifer's kids, Olivia and James, opened presents for 45 minutes. iPads, Nintendo Switches, those expensive electric scooters, designer clothes with tags I didn't bother reading because the numbers made me feel sick. Emma got a Frozen coloring book and a box of crayons from the dollar store. I knew because I'd seen the same ones there the week before. "We're on a fixed income," my mother said with a tight smile when I asked about it quietly in the kitchen. "You understand." But they'd just paid for James's $600 hockey equipment. New, top of the line. At birthdays, my niece and nephew got parties at trampoline parks or those painting places where kids make ceramic masterpieces. 20 kids each. Goodie bags that cost more than my monthly car payment. A hired photographer. Emma got a card with a $20 bill inside and a cupcake from the grocery store bakery section, eaten at our apartment with her 2 school friends. Different stages of life, my father said when I mentioned it. Jennifer and Marcus have more resources to contribute. You can't expect us to make up the difference. I stopped expecting anything 3 years ago, but I kept showing up to family events because Emma loved them, because she didn't understand yet that love was supposed to be equal, that grandparents weren't supposed to have favorites so obvious it made other adults uncomfortable. She just knew that Grandma's house had good cookies and Grandpa let her sit on his lap during football games, even if he never remembered which position she played in soccer or that she'd won the spelling bee at school. This anniversary party, though, this was different. This wasn't quiet favoritism or unequal presence. This was public humiliation, degradation, in front of 50 people, calling my daughter trash. I couldn't sleep that night, kept seeing my mother's face, that cold look when she pushed Emma aside, like my daughter was something disgusting she'd accidentally stepped in. At 2:47 a.m., I was sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of tea that had gone cold an hour ago. I kept thinking about Jennifer's medical practice, the one she'd opened 5 years ago with such fanfare, the announcement in the local paper, the open house with catered food and a ribbon cutting, my parents beaming like they'd birthed royalty. I remembered because I'd co-signed the loan, $200,000. My parents had needed help getting approved. Their credit wasn't good enough. Dad had some late payments from a business venture that tanked in 2008, and Mom had maxed out credit cards she'd never quite recovered from. But Jennifer had been accepted to a competitive family medicine medicine residency. Had this whole plan for opening a practice in an underserved area, which also happened to be a quickly gentrifying neighborhood, but nobody mentioned that part. They'd asked me to co-sign. My credit was pristine because I was terrified of debt, paid everything early, lived like a monk to stay above water. It's just a formality, my mother had said. Jennifer will make the payments. You won't have to do anything, but we need your signature for the bank. Because we're family, my father added. Family helps family. So I signed. Because they were family. Because they needed help. Because some small stupid part of me thought maybe if I did this huge thing for them, they'd see me differently, value me differently. I hadn't thought about that loan in years. Jennifer made every payment on time, never missed one. It was just this thing that existed in the background of my life, my name on paperwork I never looked at, until 2:47 a.m. on Sunday morning, November 12th, when I logged into the loan account for the first time in 4 years. I had full access. As a cosigner, I could see everything. Current balance, $142,388.67. Payment history, perfect. Every single month for 61 months. Interest rate, 6.2%. Monthly payment, $2,008.47. I scrolled through pages of terms and conditions I'd never read when I signed. Dense legal language that my eyes kept skipping over, until Section 7, Subsection 4. In the event that a cosigner requests removal from loan obligation, the lending institution reserves the right to demand full payment of remaining balance within 30 days. Should primary borrowers fail to secure alternative financing or provide full payment within said timeframe, the institution may pursue legal action against all parties named on original loan documentation. I read it 3 times. Then I Googled cosigner removal triggers full balance. 14 articles, 7 forum posts, 3 legal advice threads. They all said the same thing. At 9:03 a.m. Monday morning, I called First National Bank. Loan Services, this is Travis speaking. How can I help you? Hi, Travis. My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm a cosigner on a commercial loan. Account number 4472-8839-2204. I have some questions about the terms. Keys clicking. Okay, Ms. Morrison, I have your account pulled up. What's your question? Section 7, Subsection 4. The clause about cosigner removal. Can you explain how that works? A pause. Are you looking to remove yourself from the loan? Just trying to understand my options. More clicking. Well, technically, if a cosigner formally requests removal, we're required to notify all parties on the loan. The primary borrowers would then need to either refinance with a different cosigner, secure alternative financing, or pay the full remaining balance. Within 30 days? Correct. It's bank policy. We can't carry a commercial loan without adequate collateral or cosigner support. If the primary borrowers can't meet those requirements in 30 days, we'd begin collection proceedings. My heart was beating faster. Collection proceedings against who? Initially, all parties on the loan, but if you're formally removed before the 30-day window expires, you'd be cleared from liability. So I'd be off the loan, and they'd have 30 days to come up with the full balance? That's correct. Can I ask if there's a specific reason you're considering removal? We have loan counselors who can discuss, just gathering information. Thank you, Travis. I hung up, stared at my phone for 10 minutes. Then I called Dr. Patricia Reeves, an attorney I'd met at a teaching conference 2 years ago. She specialized in contract law and had told me to reach out if I ever needed advice. Patricia Reeves. Hi, Dr. Reeves. This is Rachel Morrison. We met at the NETA conference in 2022. I'm a 4th grade teacher, and you gave me your card when I mentioned I had some family contract questions. Rachel, yes, I remember. How can I help? I explained the situation, the loan, the clause, the anniversary party incident, everything. She was quiet for a long moment. Rachel, I need to be very clear with you. What you're describing is legally permissible. You have every right to remove yourself from a loan obligation, but the consequences for your family would be significant. I understand. Do you? Because this isn't just about money. This is about blowing up your family, permanently. There's no coming back from something like this. They threw a bag at my daughter's feet and called her trash in front of 50 people. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay, she said quietly. Then here's what you need to do. I filed the paperwork that Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, 3:47 p.m. Formal request for cosigner removal from commercial loan 4472-8839-2204, effective immediately. The bank processed it within 48 hours. Jennifer had 30 days to come up with $142,388.67 in cash, secure a new cosigner with excellent credit, or refinance the loan through a different institution. In late November, 2 weeks before Christmas, I didn't tell anyone, didn't announce it, just went about my life, taught my students about fractions and the water cycle, helped Emma with her homework, made spaghetti for dinner, and watched Encanto for the 14th time. On November 29th, my phone rang at 7:23 p.m. Mom. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello? Sobbing. Actual gasping sobs. Rachel. She could barely get my name out. Rachel, what did you do? I sat down on my couch. Emma was in her room doing a puzzle. I kept my voice calm. I removed myself from a loan I should never have been on in the first place. The bank, she choked on the words. They're demanding full payment, the whole balance, in 2 weeks. They said you triggered some clause. I exercised my legal right to remove myself from a financial obligation. You knew. She was screaming now, ugly and raw. You knew what would happen. You knew they'd call the full balance. You're destroying your sister, everything she's built, everything I helped her build, I said quietly, with my credit, my signature, my risk. We can't come up with that money. We've called every bank. No one will refinance without a cosigner, and we can't find anyone who— Rachel, please. Please reverse it. We'll lose the practice. Jennifer will lose everything. Then she shouldn't have made that choice. Silence. Just her ragged breathing. What choice? She whispered. At the anniversary party, when she threw an empty bag at Emma's feet and called her trash. In front of 50 people. That choice. That's what this is about? Her voice went shrill. Jennifer was stressed. The party was chaotic. She didn't mean— She meant it, I said. So did you when you shoved my daughter aside. You both meant every second of it. Rachel, 30 days. That's what the bank gave you. Figure it out. I hung up. Jennifer called 5 minutes later. I didn't answer. She called again and again, 11 times in 20 minutes. I blocked her number at 8:47 p.m. The next morning, my father showed up at the school. I was in the teacher's lounge during my planning period when Principal Chen knocked on the door. Rachel, your father is in the office. He says it's an emergency. My stomach dropped, but I kept my face neutral. Tell him I'll be out in 10 minutes. He's quite insistent. 10 minutes. I finished my coffee. Slowly. Made copies of tomorrow's math worksheet. Checked my mailbox. Then walked to the office with my shoulders back and my face blank. Dad was standing by the reception desk, still in his work clothes. He looked like he'd aged 5 years since the party. Gray skin. Circles under his eyes. Rachel, his voice cracked. We need to talk. I'm at work. This can't wait. I looked at Mrs. Henderson, the school secretary, who was pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. Fine, outside. We walked to the parking lot. Cold November air. The sky that flat gray that means snow is coming. What you're doing to your sister is unconscionable, he said without preamble. Vindictive. Cruel. I removed myself from a loan. You know what you did. You triggered the full payment clause deliberately. We've been calling banks for 3 days. No one will help us without a cosigner, and your credit was the only reason we got approved in the first place. That sounds like a Jennifer and Marcus problem. He's a corporate attorney, right? 6-figure salary? I'm sure they'll figure something out. They have less than 2 weeks. After the holidays, it's impossible. And Jennifer's business account doesn't have that kind of liquidity. Everything is tied up in equipment, payroll, operating costs. Should have kept a rainy day fund. He grabbed my arm, hard enough to hurt. This is our family you're destroying. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. Let go of me. Rachel, let go. He dropped his hand, stepped back. This family, I said quietly, destroyed itself when you taught Jennifer that she could treat my daughter like garbage and face no consequences. When you showed Emma over and over that she matters less than her cousins. When you stood in that party hall and watched your granddaughter get publicly humiliated and did nothing. It wasn't that serious. She asked me why Grandma doesn't love her. My voice broke, just a little. She's 7 years old and she asked me what she did wrong, to make you all hate her. His face went pale. We don't— Yeah, you do. And now you're learning what it costs when the person you've been taking for granted decides they're done being taken. I walked away. He didn't follow. December 3rd, 7 days before the loan was due. Marcus called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Rachel. His voice was measured, attorney smooth. I think we can all agree this situation has gotten out of hand. Why don't we meet for coffee and discuss a reasonable solution? No. I'm prepared to offer you $50,000 to reverse the cosigner removal. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You think this is about money? Everything is about money, Rachel. That's how the world works. I'm offering you a substantial sum to undo a paperwork action. Take the money, fix this. Everyone moves on. Does Jennifer know you're offering me money? A pause. She's aware I'm attempting to negotiate. Tell her I said no. 75,000. No. You're being unreasonable. I'm being exactly as reasonable as your wife was when she threw a bag at my daughter's feet and sneered, "Pick up the trash." Was that reasonable, Marcus? Silence. That's what I thought. I hung up. The loan came due on December 10th. They didn't pay. On December 12th, First National Bank filed a lawsuit against Jennifer and Marcus for default on a commercial loan. The amount, $142,288.67, plus interest, late fees, and legal costs. On December 14th, the bank placed a lien on the medical practice. On December 18th, Jennifer's practice declared bankruptcy. She had to close the doors on January 4th. 53 patients displaced, 4 staff members laid off right after Christmas. Her reputation in the community ruined. Not because she was a bad doctor, but because everyone knew she'd defaulted on a massive loan and tanked her own business. Marcus filed for separation on January 15th. Apparently, financial catastrophe and forced practice closure weren't great for a marriage that was already, according to Jennifer's rambling 2 a.m. voicemail I didn't listen to until weeks later, hanging by a thread anyway. My parents' house went up for sale in February. Turned out they'd been helping Jennifer make loan payments for the last year when her cash flow got tight. They'd depleted their retirement to keep the practice afloat. Now they were downsizing to a 2-bedroom condo in a town 40 minutes away. I didn't hear from any of them for 6 months. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits to my classroom. Just silence. Emma asked about them twice in January, once in February. Then she stopped asking. Instead, she asked if she could sign up for art classes at the community center. If we could adopt the kitten from her friend's cat's litter. If we could make pancakes for dinner because she'd seen it on TikTok and it looked fun. She smiled more, laughed easier. At night, when I tucked her in, she didn't cry anymore. In April, I got a letter. Not an email, an actual letter. Jennifer's handwriting. I almost threw it away. But Emma was at a sleepover, and I had a glass of wine in me, so I opened it. Rachel. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. But I need you to know that I understand now. Therapy, mandated by the divorce proceedings but still, has helped me see what I was doing. What we were all doing, to you, to Emma. I've replayed that anniversary party 1,000 times. I remember the look on Emma's face. I remember what I said, what I did. I was cruel. Mom was cruel. We'd been cruel for years in smaller ways, and it all built up to that moment when we humiliated a 7-year-old in public because she reminded us of our own failings. You were the one who didn't fit the mold we wanted. Emma was evidence of that. It was easier to make you both small than to examine why we needed you to be. I lost my practice, my marriage, my relationship with my kids who live with Marcus now and barely speak to me. I lost Mom and Dad's respect, which is ironic because I spent 34 years trying to earn it. But I deserve to lose all of it. You didn't blow up the family, Rachel, we did, years ago. With every dismissive comment, every unequal Christmas, every time we made Emma feel less than. You just stopped letting us get away with it. I hope Emma is happy. I hope you both are. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Jennifer. I read it twice. Then I put it in my desk drawer and haven't looked at it since. It's November now, almost a year since the anniversary party. Emma is 8. She takes art classes on Wednesdays. We have a kitten named Pepper, who sleeps on her bed and knocks over water glasses at 3 a.m. She made the honor roll last quarter and wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. She doesn't ask about Grandma and Grandpa anymore. Last week she told me, "I'm glad it's just us, Mom. We're a good team." My family sent a card to Emma for her birthday last month. It arrived 2 days late. $20 inside. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just love Grandma and Grandpa in my mother's careful cursive. Emma looked at it for a long moment. Then she handed it back to me. "Can we use this to get Pepper that cat tree she likes? The one at PetSmart?" "Yeah, baby," I said. "We can do that." So we did. I don't regret what I did. Not for a second. They wanted to teach my daughter she was worthless. Trash to be picked up off the floor. I taught them that the person they'd taken for granted had more power than they'd ever imagined. And that some things, like publicly humiliating a child, have consequences that last long after the party's over and the gift bags are gone. My daughter knows her worth now. That's all that matters.